Hey guys, it's Halo553. Welcome back to another Beyblade X unboxing and review. Today we're going to be checking out a recent pack released on Amazon, that being the Yggdrasil Team Pack. Now going over the packaging quickly, as you can see, pretty nice box. As you can see, we got nice images of all three members of Team Yggdrasil along with their bays. On the top, it's just their bays. On the side, just goes over the combos. And on the back of the box, it goes into a full breakdown of all three bays that we get. So first off, we have Sphinx. So we have the Sphinx blade with 980 and gear needle. Then we have Sting Unicorn with the Sting Unicorn blade, 560 and gear point. And then honestly, the main attraction, that being Rudder Phoenix. So we have the Rudder Phoenix blade, ratchet is 970, and then we have the bit known as Glide. So let's get into this team pack. So here is the Yggdrasil Team Pack out of the packaging. Now this is a pack focusing on 3 bays from Team Yggdrasil, which is really cool. So we do get 2 bays here that are reissues, and we do get a brand new bay here, at least for Hasbro. So pretty cool stuff here. But let's now take a deep dive into all 3 bays that we get in this pack. So first off, we have Sphinx. Now this bay is used by Zozamos of Team Yggdrasil, and it is a defense type combo. Now we first got this blade back in Wave 3 as a booster, and then one of its recolors did come out in Wave 5 in a dual pack. So it's pretty nice to be able to get this original colorway again, especially since certain countries like Australia did not get the original release of Sphinx, which is honestly a little bit disappointing, but great to see that we now have an opportunity to get it here. Combo wise, it comes with a 980 ratchet and gear needle. These were brand new parts for Sphinx when it first came out, so pretty nice way to be able to get these parts again. Granted, not the best parts, but either way, still really nice to be able to get this at least available where I live, because again, Australia did not get the original release of Sphinx, so this is a great way to be able to get it here. Next up, we have Sting Unicorn. Now this is used by Uni, and we first got this blade back in Wave 2, along with a Hasbro exclusive recolor, so this blade hasn't been available for a little while. But Sting Unicorn is a very fun blade to use. Love the 2 different side contact points. It is very, very fun to use. It is a little bit outclassed nowadays, but it does still see uses from time to time. But still looks really cool. Parts wise, it comes with a 560 ratchet and gear point. 560 is definitely probably the most notable part out of this combo. It's a really solid ratchet to use. Gear point's alright, it's just not the best point bit you can use right now. But even still, really nice to be able to see this blade get a reissue here. But probably my main complaint I do have with Sphinx and Sting Unicorn being included here is I do kind of wish it was one of their recolors instead. But apart from that, if you didn't get the original release of either of these bays, this is definitely a great opportunity to snag both of them here for a pretty reasonable price. Now let's focus on really the main attraction of this team pack. We have Rudder Phoenix. Now this is the original colors, and this is of course one of the bays used by Blaze, the leader of Team Yggdrasil, and really cool to see this here. Now we do have a Rudder Phoenix blade available as a starter pack, but this is the original combo and of course the original colors. But let's now take a full dive into all the parts that Rudder Phoenix comes with. So first off, we have the Rudder Phoenix blade itself. Now this is a UX blade, so the launch hooks are plastic and the metal is more allocated to the outer weight distribution. Now this is also done in an anodized metal in red, which looks really cool. Now Rudder Phoenix is not the best blade out of all the Phoenixes released so far. It is a stamina blade, and the 6 blades it has, while they can do some pretty nice damage and some interesting recoil, it doesn't really benefit from them that much. It does tend to struggle quite a bit, especially when you compare it to both Phoenix Wing and Phoenix Flare. which is not the best. But even still, I honestly do love the way Rudder Phoenix looks. It still looks really, really cool. While it's not the best Phoenix, it's definitely not the worst blade that has come out, for UX at least. But if you do want the blade specifically, you can get the non-metal coat version in a starter pack quite easily from Hasbro. But if you do want the metal coat version, you will have to get it through this team pack. Next up, we have the 970 ratchet. So this ratchet was brand new for Rudder Phoenix when it first came out, but this actually is the second release of this ratchet from Hasbro, as the 970 ratchet first came out with Fox Brush. So a bit interesting to see that the original release of this comes out second from Hasbro. But it's 9 treasure points at the 70 height. Pretty decent ratchet. It does see a good amount of use from time to time. Probably not as much as 960. But 970 is a really decent ratchet. Now granted, it is still going to be a little bit tricky to get this ratchet though, as Fox Brush is starting to sell it in a few places here and there. So, and this is only the second release of this ratchet. But either way, it's still great to see this ratchet finally get another release. It's definitely long overdue. Finally, for the bit, we have Glide. So Glide was a brand new bit for Rudder Phoenix when it first came out. Now Glide is a bit of an interesting bit to say the least. So it has 16 gear teeth, so when it hits the extreme dash, it is going to be very, very quick. But probably the main, I guess you could say, trait with Glide, it does have a little kind of rolling ball on its tip. So it's made out of like a PVC material, kind of the same one that you see on Operate. Now this increases the amount of friction that it does have on the stadium floor, and this is supposedly to help with stamina somewhat, but it's not the best bit. The amount of gear teeth does drain stamina really quick, and it is very burst prone being a stamina bit. And just when you compare it to other stamina and even defense type bits currently out right now, it's very outclassed. It does get uses from time to time with certain combos, and it does see some success, but it's definitely not one of those bits you really see that often. If you really are planning on going stamina, you're better off using some of the ball bits that are currently out and some of the other stamina bits. But it can be fun on certain combos, just not the best. Now for the time being, this bit is only available in this team pack, which I don't know how to feel about that. I'm always one that wants to have bits and parts that are easily accessible, but to lock a bit behind a deck set like a team pack like this is a little bit disappointing. But either way, it's still nice to be able to see this bit finally get a release from Hasbro. It's definitely long overdue. With this combination of parts, it makes Rudder Phoenix a stamina type, but let's now head over to the scales and weigh up all 3 bays and see how much they all weigh up. Alright, let's now get some weights from this team pack. Now, I'm only going to weigh up the weights of the Cow Sphinx and the Sting Unicorn, and then I'll weigh up all the parts from Rudder Phoenix. So, Cow Sphinx, this blade weighs 33.17 grams, so that's about the same ballpark as other Sphinx cows out right now. Sting Unicorn, this one weighs 33.87, so again, kind of the same ballpark. So now for Rudder Phoenix. So Glide, this weighs 2.55 grams. 970, that weighs 6.29. And then the Rudder Phoenix blade, this one weighs 34.45 grams. So it is on the lighter side compared to some of the blades out right now, but I would say back when this came out, that was not too bad for its weight. So let's put this bay together. Rudder Phoenix, 970 Glide. So altogether, Rudder Phoenix weighs 43.3 grams. Now for Cow Sphinx with 980 and Gear Needle, that one weighs 41.85. And then finally, Sting Unicorn with 560 and gear point. And this weighs 42.62. So let's now head out to the stadium and check these guys out in some test spins and some test battles. Alright, let's now do some test spins and some test battles with all 3 bays from this team pack. So we're going to start off with Cow Sphinx. So, being on Gear Needle, it's staying relatively in the center. So, not bad. And then for Sting Unicorn, now being on gear point, its gearing is going to be a bit different. Its performance is going to vary depending on how you launch it. But still pretty cool. And then finally, really the main attraction, we have Rudder Phoenix. So being on glide, see there's a lot more friction due to that bit. But it does annoy me that the only way to at least glide and I believe 970, at least at the moment from Hasbro, is only through this team pack, which is a little annoying in my opinion. But let's now try on all 3 bays against each other in some test battles. Ooh. So that is it for my look at the Yggdrasil team pack. I really like this pack, and it's really awesome to see team packs make a big return after pretty much a decade. And does have me very hopeful we may see other teams get made in the future. Please make Team Phalanx, I beg of you. But I do have some qualms with this pack though, but I'm going to dive into all that as we talk about each of the bays individually. First off, with Sphinx and Sting Unicorn, I'm pretty happy to see these bays finally get a reissue. I think it's definitely a little bit overdue. Now with Sphinx, I think it's great to finally see this available where I live, because Sphinx, the original booster, did not get a release here. So to be able to get this from Amazon is really nice if you didn't get that original release. Sting Unicorn hasn't been available for a little while now. Granted, it kind of was a little bit of a shelf warmer, but it is nice to be able to see this get a reissue, as it has been quite a while. Now granted, my main complaint I do have with these reissues is I kind of wish it was the recolors. Like, I would have liked to have seen one of the recolors from the Sphinx Random Booster Select here, and with Sting Unicorn, I think it would have been awesome to have seen the red Unicorn Sting that was available in a random booster from Obsidian Shell. I think those would have made this pack a little bit more enticing, especially for those that already do have these bays. But if you don't have these bays already, it's a great way to get these two. But if you already have them, unless you really desire these parts, it is going to be a little bit of a hard pill to swallow if you want to buy this pack, if you are after just one of the blades. Now for Rudder Phoenix, it is really great to finally see the original Rudder Phoenix get a release. Very, very, very overdue. But I do feel like it being sold in this team pack and kind of seeming like being exclusive is a little bit disappointing, as I think a lot of people would have loved to have at least gotten the original Rudder Phoenix combo in a starter. Now, at least you can get the blade on its own. I think that's probably at least a good thing, but the bad thing is Glide is still locked behind this deck set, which is not the best. 970, at least you can get the 970 Ratchet from the Foxbrush starter, but this is only the second release of this Ratchet, so kinda would hope to see another reissue of that at some point. Now, granted, there is a chance we will probably see this released outside of this team pack at some point, but I'm not really holding my breath, but I kinda hope we do see Glide get a release here. But if you have been waiting for this specific version of Rudder Phoenix, this is going to be the only way to get it, at least from Hasbro for the time being. Unless they eventually release it as like a booster or in a dual pack or even as a starter. But even still, it is great to see it, just kind of wish it wasn't just an exclusive in this pack. So my final thoughts on the Yggdrasil team pack are pretty good overall. I would say you would definitely benefit from this pack the most if you haven't gotten any of these bays. I personally would have liked to have seen some of the recolors for Sphinx and Sting Unicorn be included. I feel like that would have really made this pack a little bit more valuable, and I do kind of hope we do see the original Rudder Phoenix released outside of this pack at some point. But it does also give me hope that we may see other team packs get made in the future. But I am pretty happy with this pack though. But granted, probably my last qualm is kind of wish it was a retail exclusive, not an Amazon exclusive. Would have liked to have seen this in stores. But other than that, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please also check out all my other friends' channels and links in the description below. And until then, I'll see you all in the next video.